Hey everybody, Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the extraordinary honor and pleasure of chatting with bassist, co-vocalist for Return to Dust, Graham Stanush. How you doing, Graham?
How's it going? I'm good, man. How are you?
Great. So as always, we like to get to know a little bit about the past, so we go all the way back. How did you get started in music and particularly on bass?
Well, I didn't start as a bassist. I kind of started, my brother gave me an acoustic guitar in, I think, 5th grade, and I didn't really touch it. Like he showed me a couple songs. It's still the acoustic that I write on today. And I didn't really touch it until maybe freshman year of high school and started learning songs. I would sing all the time, sing in the shower mainly because I was really shy. But yeah, and I just started learning songs, kind of started writing, but I didn't really start like taking music seriously until maybe after high school or kind of towards the end of high school. And, I met, or I didn't meet Maddie. I've known Maddie since middle school, but we kind of came together and we were like, hey, let's start a band. It's kind of a long story, but we're like, yo, let's start a band. And we're like, well, we both played guitar and we're like, well, we need a bassist. And yeah. I feel like every bassist starts as a guitarist. Like, yeah. So I was like, let's do it, and I love it. It's like, I think it's a nice bridge between kind of melody and rhythm. So I think it suits me. I think it suits my tendencies well. And I really enjoy it. So yeah.
Indeed. And are you self-taught or did you pursue formal studies?
The most I've really done, well, not for bass. Yeah, no, nothing for bass. I've pretty much just kind of played what felt good. I've learned bass lines myself just from listening, looking up bass tabs, stuff like that. But yeah, no formal practice. The closest thing I've done to formal practice is like choir in high school.
Okay.
I don't know how to read music. I would just kind of sight read solfege, if you all know what that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, and Return to Dust, you had mentioned, again, you guys kind of had got together, you and Maddie had been talking, you've known each other forever. And again, it sounds like a story I've heard numerous times before where a couple of kids that know each other from middle school say, hey, dude, let's do a band. And the next thing you know, there you go. How did it kind of formalize into Return to Dust?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a longer story, which is what I was saying. A little bit more complicated than just like, yo, let's start a band. So let's get into it. So I've known Maddie since middle school. We kind of always we'd play like acoustic covers at this coffee shop in our hometown in Texas. And there was like nothing to do here. Like this was like the only like venue. It was like a pseudo venue that have open mics, and we'd hang there with our friends like every Thursday, and we'd just play covers, mostly like folk covers or like whatever is kind of like new, I guess, in music, like popular songs. I'd play like, Goo Goo Dolls, like Iris and stuff like that. And then we kind of separated in college. I went to Colorado. He went to Austin, Texas. And then for spring break, on our first year, we decided to visit our friend Ryan in California. He was working at the time, and still is actually, he's working as assistant for this producer, Jim Kaufman, who produces all of our stuff now. And he had a particularly non-busy night on a Wednesday, and he was like, dude, come like hang out at the studio, like come, I'm just kind of editing, wrapping up stuff. And we're like, yeah, sure. So we go to the studio and we meet. Jim's there. We're just kind of hanging. And, Jim was like, well, you guys are friends with Ryan, so you got to be like musical in some way, right? So we, he's like, why don't you play some stuff? So we, picked up his guitars and started playing. I think it was like a Fleetwood Mac song or something. And like, not even like original stuff, but like, he was just like, dude, like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all are like studying STEM degrees. Like, what the hell, like do music. Like, it's a real thing. If you really want to, you can do it. And he was just like, really kind of motivated us and pushed us to pursue it. And we took it seriously. We're like, okay. So we dropped out and moved to California, started writing songs, and we were sending Jim songs, and most of which were not our best work, early on. And we just kept writing and kind of just honing the craft, and, eventually sent him some stuff that was good and good enough for him to be like, yeah, let's record this. So I think the rest is kind of history. The band has just kind of, been climbing since then, and, yeah. So that's kind of the origin, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. Well, and with that, as this ascension is happening, you guys have a self-titled album releasing May 3rd, 2024, Return to Dust. Tell us a little bit about this project.
Oh, man. Well, it's kind of just been a culmination of, a lot of growing up since moving to California. I think a lot of some of the songs are really old, some of them not as much. It's showcasing 4 of the songs that were on the EP. So, those are some of the oldest that we have. And I think during that time, it was kind of the first year or two when we moved here. And it was just a lot of isolation during the pandemic. It was being away from family because, none of us really have family out here. It was a lot of kind of losing family during all of that chaos. It was growing apart from friends. So it was a lot of kind of the darker aspects of, just growing up and kind of being alone. And luckily we had, not to be corny, we had each other, and it really helped. I mean, I don't know what I would do without the band. I don't know what I would do otherwise. And I'm glad that we could kind of build off of each other and make these really cool songs. And so that's kind of what the record is. And, hopefully that hits people where it needs to, and they get something out of it. So
very nice. Well, and they categorize your guys' music kind of within grunge, but it's always really interesting because music has many times been, I'm going to say, kind of the spokesperson, if you will, for how the general population is feeling. And so historically, when you have tunes and things that are coming up, you guys are able to vocalize what a lot of people can relate to. And, they go, oh yeah, no, I feel this. This is why it turns into, so many times they go, oh yeah, that's my song. And these have been some rough times, especially when you look at the pandemic and the general climate in the world as it is. There's a lot of possibilities there to make statements about that. So it's got some serious material there. Now, as for your own sound, how are you getting your own sound? What are you playing on as far as gear?
I love to play out of an Orange Head. I play out of an Obi-Wan 500. I'm sitting in front of it somewhere back there.
You see him in the corner, yeah.
Yeah. I love that thing. It's great. It's nice and gritty. It has this blend knob. You can actually adjust where you want the distortion in terms of which frequency you want it to poke through. Mm-hmm. So if you want it to poke out on the higher end, and it kind of accentuates some of the more trebly grit, you can do that. Or if you want it kind of more on the kind of the sub frequencies, that low end grit, you can do that. And so that's what's really cool about that bass head. It's also really loud, really loud. I never have to go above 3. It's great.
Nice.
Even on a big stage. Yeah, it's awesome. So that's my amp head. I'm playing out of also an Orange 410 cab. I also really enjoy the Ampeg 810s just because they stand proud. They're really tall, and it feels good. I feel like I can just feel it in my whole body,
As long as you don't have to carry them yourself, right?
Yeah, right. Well, they're usually on wheels, which is nice. So, and then on my chain and my board, I literally just have a tuner and a Sans amp. That's it. And the Sans amp is there's a specific one that they made in the 90s, and they don't make them anymore. And it's actually missing 2 switches that the more modern one has. So that's how you can tell them apart. Wow. And I A/B'd them because I bought the modern one, and then I had a friend of mine be like, no man, you got to get this one. So I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, A/B them side to side. And I did. And it's a world of difference. They look identical, but I promise you something that they did within the manufacturing, the internals, gives it a hell of a tone. So
nice.
So just a tuner, Sans amp, and my bass head, and that's it.
Gotcha. And what bass are you playing on?
Right now I'm playing a jazz special. It's the one that Duff McKagan played, not his signature, but the one that he played. I don't know the timeline, but it's just like an all black, just blacked out jazz special. But I actually don't use the jazz pickup. I just roll that all the way down. So it might as well be a P bass, but yeah.
And do you have any preference in strings or any other details?
I just use Ernie Ball regular slinkies, like nothing crazy. I think the tone is great. You know, they're not too thin, they're not too heavy. It just kind of sits just right. And make sure you change them more frequently than you think you have to, because you will lose the tone very fast and they will deaden out. And you don't know it until you change them. And I've made that mistake. I've gone like months without changing strings, and it's sometimes you want it, like sometimes you want that, but like not for heavy rock, you know.
Gotcha. Well, if you're doing reggae and you just want a little bit of that lub dub kind of thing, dead strings are perfect. But I'd be capturing that you're looking for more of this, a bright kind of more staccato kind of sound coming out. So that's why, again, newer strings is definitely going to give you that.
Yeah, totally. Brighter, kind of more just aggressive. Like they just sound, the newer they are, the more aggressive they sound, for sure.
Nice. Yeah. Now, to help get that sound as well, do you play with your fingers or do you play with a pick?
I play with my fingers. I've tried to play with a pick. You know, I've gone kind of back and forth in the past, and I don't know, nothing feels better than fingers. You can really you can just kind of feel it a lot more, but it also just kind of depends on your style. Like, you know, if you want kind of more chuggier, and I've noticed I have like I'll play with a pick sometimes and I have different tendencies. Like, so you should really be like conscious of like what your tendencies are and like how you're playing with or without a pick. And it should help kind of identify, you know, what you like to be or what you should use, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, I like fingers. For what we're doing, I like fingers, yeah.
Nice. Well, and that is one of the keys. And this is, as I'm sure you're aware, there's a couple of topics that tend to get the bass community riled up, and playing with a pick is one of them, and extended range basses is another. So if you've got more than 4 strings, they're going to howl at the moon and have issue. But it really just depends on what you need to get the sound that you're looking for, you know, what the music is asking for, what the music is calling for. So that said, as we're looking for it, and we know we have the record release May 3rd, what's in the works in the future? What plans do you guys have?
Oh my God. You have no idea, dude. We got a lot of songs. I'll just say that. Yeah. I mean, we're always working. We're always in the woodshed. We like to take this approach that's like, I think there's kind of a misconception sometimes about recording albums. And I had this misconception when, you know, when we first started this band. I was like, what you should do is, you know, beforehand I was like, like you have 11 songs or 12 songs, however many for the record. And you go in and you record the album, and that's how you do it. And that's how some people do it, for sure. But I think we've taken a kind of more continuous approach, and we kind of just always record, and then we build the record after we sort, let's say. So we decide what kind of record we want, and then we look at our bank and we use the songs that we want to, however we want to represent the next thing, the next body of work, whenever it's time, you know. That's kind of when we decide. And that's sort of what we did for this first one. Yeah. So
gotcha.
I think that's a more fun approach, let's say.
Indeed. And are there tour plans to help support the new album release?
Yeah. Well, yes. I don't know how much I can say about it, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works. Well, and I guess the best thing to do is the best place for people to look to know, because they're going to want to find out, would be to go to your website, returntodust.com.
Yeah, either the website or our Instagram. We're pretty active. You know, Instagram, TikTok, we're all there. Yeah, any of those three places.
Nice, nice. Well, Graham, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. We're really excited about the new album, folks. Make sure you keep your eyes open. We're just almost exactly a month away as we're speaking. So when you see this, it may be out and accessible. So make sure you check out Return to Dust. You've seen him here on Bass Musician Magazine, Graham Stanush. Yay!
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.